Hello, everyone. I'm Colleen Samuels, Interim Executive Director for DRMAC. Thank you all for joining us today. We are so excited to see you and looking forward to hearing from our well-informed panel members. Before we get into the good stuff, Stephanie is going to go over some general housekeeping items with you.
All right, thanks, Colleen. So I'm sure we're all familiar with Zoom at this point, but if you are not comfortable, we wanted to just run through some of the basic functions with you first. So you can unmute and mute yourself by clicking the microphone in the bottom left-hand corner of your Zoom window. Just to the right of that, you'll find the camera button, which will allow you to turn your camera on and off. And if you would like to access the chat, you can click on the speech bubble, which is in the bottom middle of your Zoom window. And lastly, if you would like to use the raise your hand function or any other reaction, you can find that in the bottom right-hand corner by clicking on the smiley face icon. So today, Diana is managing our Zoom and Latoya will be checking the chat throughout the meeting for questions and comments. And we are just so all excited to see you here today. So we wanted to take a few minutes to let each of you briefly introduce yourself. And I will call you by name. So just say your name and organization. And if I miss anyone, Latoya will let me know before we move on. So I'm gonna pull up the participants here and let's start with, first on my list is Jamie Lewis.
Jamie Lewis, Colorado Cross Disability Coalition.
All right, hi Jamie, welcome.
Thank you.
Next, and I apologize if I mispronounce, but I think Kayla Connors, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I'm Kayla Connors with Developmental Pathways.
Awesome, welcome in.
Thank you.
Next is Erica Dupre. All right, Erica, I'll come back to you. Next, I have Allison Cutting.
Hello. I apologize. I just joined. Are we just introducing ourselves or?
Yes, just name and organization.
Okay, I apologize. So I am Allison Cutting and I'm with Douglas County.
Awesome, welcome in.
Thank you.
And next I have Gretchen.
Hi, I'm Gretchen from Access-A-Ride, and this is Shanice. She's just new with Access-A-Ride. So we're welcoming her and introducing her to all of you.
Everyone. Thank you. Next, it looks like my participant list keeps refreshing. So I think Jennifer Hussey is next.
I hope you guys can hear me. I'm
Yes.
Jennifer Hussey with the City and County of Broomfield, and I apologize, my video is not working. So I can see you, you just can't see me, but it's great to be here, thanks.
That's okay, welcome in. Next I think is Kristen Trustman.
I wasn't ready for you, Stephanie. I'm sorry. Kristen Trustman, DRMAC.
That's okay, welcome. Next is Mallory Miller.
Hi, my name is Mallory. I'm with Denver Regional Council of Governments Area Agency on Aging.
All right, welcome. Melanie Ward.
Hi, I am Melanie Ward. I work for the City of Centennial.
Awesome, welcome. Next is Monique Bankston.
Hi, I'm Monique Bankston. I am with Thrive Center Show and Tell.
Awesome, welcome. Raphael Hoffman.
Yeah, hi, Raphael Hoffman, and I'm with Laradon.
Awesome, welcome. Robin Ennis.
You're muted, Robin.
Next up, Robin, I know you'll have an opportunity to introduce yourself later. So next up is Sarah, and I apologize, I don't remember how to pronounce your last name. Is it Sarah, is it Bohar? Okay, see that, yes, okay. Sarah is one of our panelists for today, so she's having, I think, trouble getting connected to the audio. So as soon as I hop off, I will. Shirley Propey.
Hi, everybody. Shirley Propey with Audio Information Network of Colorado.
Awesome, thank you. And I see there's a call-in person. I don't know if that's someone or maybe Sarah. Whoever is calling in, if you want to unmute and just introduce yourself. Okay. All right. Latoya, is there anyone that I missed?
I don't see anybody that you missed, no.
Okay, perfect. All right. So.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, this is William Gross.
Oh, hi, Dr. Gross. How are you?
I am fine. I don't know if this is the time to bring it up, but the note that I got in the mail from Stephanie gave me the numbers for last month's Monday meeting, but nothing for yesterday.
Okay, it's I can connect with you after, but it's the same meeting information every month.
Okay. I mean, doesn't it change from month to month?
Not anymore, no. It's the same meeting information. I'll connect with you, Dr. Gross, after the meeting's over.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, welcome in. All right. So thank you, everyone. And now we're going to switch over to the DRMAC team to hear some of our updates over here. So I'm going to kick it off with Latoya.
Thank you, Stephanie. For those who don't know me, my name is Latoya Pranti, and I'm the program manager for the Getting There Travel Training Program. At our DRMAC member meeting last month, we received a lot of really good feedback about what members would like to see DRMAC do in 2022 overall. And some of the things we saw over and over again was that members wanted to see our travel training sessions expand more with more transportation resources, in addition to the RTD and LIFT and things like that we were talking about. So I just wanted to report and be happy about it that we have done that. We are including a bunch of different kind of transportation options in our 103 travel training sessions. So if you've taken our course before and would like to learn more about the new options or just want simply a new refresher, then you guys can sign up for our travel training sessions by registering online via Eventbrite. I will include the link in our chat. However, you can just go to the website, drmac-co.org, and go under Getting There, and you can find that information there. Stephanie?
All right, thank you, Latoya. Hi, everyone again. I'm Stephanie O'Neill. I'm the program manager of special projects here at DRMAC. Right now, I primarily focus on our virtual travel training sessions. So like Latoya mentioned, we are looking and focusing on expanding our transportation options. So I recommend that you sign up for some of our sessions. In addition to that, I also am still working on our Getting There app, doing some demos with that. So that the Getting There app, it's a free app, contains information about paratransit, public transportation, free, low, no cost options. So if you're interested in learning more about that, feel free to reach out to me at SONEIL@drmac-co.org, and I will put that information in the chat as well. Lauren?
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Kurtz, and I am the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator at DRMAC. As many of you know, we've been putting a lot of extra effort into our outreach and expanding our reach. So I've definitely stayed busy the past few months reaching out to organizations and scheduling lots of travel trainings. I've also had a lot of fun joining Latoya to help out with the in-person travel trainings throughout May, and we're really looking forward to our upcoming trainings that we have scheduled. Diana?
My name is Diana Castro. I am going to be moving into a new outreach, operations and outreach coordinator position. I've already started going to in-person fairs, events with Lauren. And as I transition out of my administrative position, I would like to introduce Tracy Groves. She is going to be our new administrative assistant. And so both of our emails are found on this page. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Colleen?
I am the stay on mute queen. Thanks, Diana. So as Lauren mentioned, Dr. Mack it's a busy time for us. Dr. Mack is putting more energy and focus on outreach, networking, and collaborating with other individuals and organizations. We're attempting to work more closely with the community to try to find out how we can serve more people and help eliminate more transportation barriers. I'm going to put my contact info in the chat, and we welcome all questions, concerns, inputs, anything. If you'd just like to connect, please reach out. And now I'll turn it over to Lauren.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. So for today's meeting, we are joined by a panel of individuals from organizations in our community to discuss the topic, who is looking out for older adults and people with disabilities. So before we dive into the questions that we have compiled, I just want to give each member of our panel the opportunity to introduce themselves. So I think we will start with Robin. So do you just want to introduce yourself and give us just a brief overview about the work that you do, and then we can just kind of go down the list and you guys can each introduce yourselves. I think you're muted, Robin. Let's see.
I have the option to ask to unmute you, but I don't think I can unmute you.
Shift A.
There we go.
Okay, so you'll have to give me time to mute myself back. My screen reader's gonna currently on a text area.
You're good.
I'm sorry about that. So my name is Robin Innes, and as you heard my screen reader, I'm a blind individual. I am a member of Dr. Mack's Transit Advocate Task
Latoya
Force
Pronto to everyone. Welcome everyone.
Committee. I am also a licensed clinical social worker. I have my own private practice therapy organization. And I am also a self-advocate mentor with JFK Partners. And so the work that I do is offering emotional support to those with physical disabilities and elders. And with JFK Partners, I mentor those with autism to be able to complete a year-long fellowship along different interdisciplinary professions like OT, PT, psychologists, pediatricians, professions like that. All right, give me time to mute myself back. So hold on.
You're all
Menu
good.
bar, app, Zoom us, meeting, full, keep on, enter, gallery, mute audio command shift.
All right, Mallory, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay. My name is Mallory. I've been a community resource specialist at DRCOG for a year now, and moved into the transportation role a couple months prior. So yeah, I'm happy to be here at this meeting. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. All right, Monique, you're next for introductions.
Yes, hello, I am Monique Bankston. I'm the project coordinator and parent advisor at Thrive Center Show and Tell. We were formerly known as Thrive Center and are transitioning into the name Show and Tell. We are a community parent resource center in the Denver metro area, helping parents navigate the education system, making sure they understand their rights under the IDEA and providing parent trainings for those that need it, also youth workshops. And then we are also helping parents navigate the judicial system, trying to help close that school to prison pipeline. So yes, again, Monique Bankston, project coordinator, also parent advisor at Thrive Center Show and Tell.
Awesome, thank you. Sarah, are you on with us now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Alrighty, yes. I don't know what's going on with Zoom lately, but I think my IT department is setting up some things to prevent me from getting on very easily. But I am Sarah Bohar. I am the program manager at MTM, and we have a contract with RTD, and we provide the Access-a-Ride assessments in the office for mobility assessments, and we also provide travel training in the community, kind of one-on-one travel training. And we recently started connecting with Dr. Mack and are looking for ways to connect with the members of Dr. Mack and the staff there as well, so that we can help with that travel training piece to make it as accessible as possible. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you all for those introductions and telling us about all of the great work that you all do. So now we're going to dive into the questions that we have for you all. We're going to present a question and then open up the floor to our panel to give their answers and just kind of talk about, how that applies to your organization. And then after each question is discussed, we'll then open up the floor to everybody else who is on the meeting today, and then we can do questions and comments. And then at the end, we can do another questions and comments section too. So our first question that we have for our panel is, what is your organization doing to ensure the success of older adults or people with disabilities? And what programs do you offer? So Robin, do you want to kick us off here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yay. So starting off with my private practice, I offer therapy to those who have Medicaid and Medicare, which are underserved populations. And so 80% of my clients have those types of insurance. And so they are comprised of blind individuals, as well as those who have MS and chronic pain disorder. And my caseload consists of the youngest being 18 and the oldest being 74. With JFK Partners, as I mentioned before, so we serve those with autism and intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so they have a variety of programs like educational programs to create awareness for parents on different types of resources that exist, as well as to providers to provide that education on what it's like and how to support those with disabilities. And so that a part of that is also to the fellowship that I had mentioned earlier. And so, so those are the main programs that I help out with.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. We can just kind of move down the list again, if that works for our panel. So Mallory, do you want to hop on now?
Sure. So at the Area Agency on Aging, we're designed to provide services and supports in the Area Agency on Aging side, primarily to adults over the age of 60, to help them remain active and involved in the community and get their services and needs met. We also house within that the Aging and Disability Resource Center, which allows us to provide more direct services as well as options counseling to adults over 60, as well as adults over the age of 18 who identify as having a disability. So in addition to providing funding for around 40 organizations in the Denver metro area for things like meal sites, legal services, transportation, in-house, we offer a free Medicare counseling program for anyone with Medicare issues or wanting to enroll in a plan. It's not biased. They don't get any kickbacks for choosing a plan. We have Medicare Patrol for any Medicare fraud issues. We have a program for veterans with an attendance housebound benefits. We have a community options program for those folks who have long-term care Medicaid, living in a skilled nursing facility and looking to transition back into the community. We have our ombudsmen who act as advocates in nursing homes and memory care facilities. And within the Aging and Disability Resource Center, we house the Information and Assistance phone line, where we get around 80 to 100 calls every day for requests from everything from transportation to I'm having issues with my neighbor to I'm getting evicted in 2 weeks. So staff are well trained to deal with a wide variety of calls and situations. Also within that ADRC, we house a transportation program available to those over the age of 60. And then we have a chores program that provides light housekeeping and personal care to eligible clients. So those are, I think, the majority of programs that we offer. We do a lot specifically for these two populations.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of different programs there that you guys offer. All right, so Monique.
Yes, so at Thrive Center Show and Tell, we typically don't directly have programs and services for older adults. The oldest that we really work with is 26, and but we do offer volunteer opportunities for different cognitive levels, accessibility levels, mobility levels, for older adults to be a part and engage in their community with our volunteer work. We also contract with a lot of different organizations and partner with organizations that do provide services for older adults. And we do trainings around those or with those organizations for the community so that they know that those other organizations are out there. As far as our programs that kind of geared towards the older population, we have Project Independence, which is a workshop around what happens after high school. So working with transitional youth and again, providing information and resources so that when they do get out of high school, they have kind of a plan. And then we also offer an On Alert youth camp for neurodiverse BIPOC students, teaching them how to advocate for themselves, how to basically take up space is the word we use in the community, using their gifts as a way to be involved in their community.
Awesome. And last but not least, we have Sarah.
Hi. Yeah, so our organization, we're a national company, MTM, and we do a lot of different things in a lot of different places. So our company's, I guess, vision or goal is to remove community barriers. And so we do that in a couple of different ways. Depending on where we're at, we do different things. So we provide transportation and non-medical emergency or non-emergency medical transportation in some areas. And then we do disability assessments like we're doing here in Denver. And we also do travel training like we are doing here in Denver. So our company does a lot of different things. We also have some other smaller companies that do other things as well. But I like to focus a little bit more in on what we're doing here in Denver, since that's obviously more relevant to this crowd. So we work with basically all of the people that we work with in the community are older adults and or people with disabilities. These are people who are looking for transportation options. And so we are the contractor for the RTD. We work very closely with Gretchen and Larry and Paul and everybody at RTD to provide assessments in our office for people that need mobility assessments. So if someone feels like they have a disability and that they cannot use the regular fixed route light rail or buses because of that disability, and they would like to use the RTD Access-a-Ride services, they go through us for their mobility assessment as a third-party non-buy-in, I guess, person. It's only our job to assess whether or not people can reasonably use public transportation on their own. And then, so the assessment process includes an application, which is submitted to the RTD, and then it's forwarded to us. They receive a phone call to schedule an appointment, and they come in for a mobility assessment. They get an individualized interview, and then they participate in the assessments that we find appropriate, and then an eligibility determination is made. Most of the time, people, if they are approved for services, are approved for 4 years. Some people get a temporary certification if the disability is new, or if there could be a lot of things changing. And then they get notification every 4 years or whenever they're done to come back and to recertify for services. It is an every 4-year process. So that's what we do on the mobility side of things. And then we also do travel training in the community. It's a little bit different than what Dr. Mack is doing, only in so much as that Dr. Mack is doing virtual and group trainings right now, and MTM focuses more on one-on-one individualized training for that travel training piece. So we are looking to train individuals who need assistance learning how to use a particular accessible route for themselves. So they may be going to their day program, or they may be needing to get to work, or they may be needing to get to a place that they go to on a regular basis. And that's what we would train them on how to do. And we start out that process by going to their home and interviewing them, doing an assessment kind of in their home and learning a little bit more about what they're doing. And then from there, we develop a plan and we train to the plan until the person is able to do that trip independently. So that's a little bit about what we do at MTM and how we can help the Denver community.
Awesome. Thank you all for those answers. That was some great information about your organizations. Now I just want to open up the floor to everybody else. And if you have questions or comments, you can use the raise your hand function or just unmute yourself. Or you can always put your question in the chat, and you can ask either a specific panel member or just throw the question out there. So does anybody have any questions or comments about this first question?
Hi, so I actually came in a bit late, so sorry. I am with Benefits in Action doing outreach coordination. So what we do, if it's okay, we're a nonprofit organization located in Lakewood, but we do serve folks all over the state. We help them to navigate the benefits that they have in place and screen them for eligibility for other programs. And then we provide application assistance for anybody who needs it. So things like SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare as well. We're a SHIP certified site for Medicare assistance. Working with long-term care and those kinds of things as well. So if anybody has any questions, send me a message.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. Does anybody else have any questions for the panel? Or are we ready to move on to the next question? All right, well, if anybody comes up with a question, just throw it in the chat or you can ask it at the end. So the next question is, how accessible are your services or resources, and is there any cost? So let's just go down the list again and start with Robin.
With my private practice therapy, it's virtual, so I can reach all areas of Colorado. And there is a cost that's paid through insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, and other insurance companies that I panel with. And if individuals don't have insurance, then I work with them with a sliding fee scale. With JFK Partners, they have some events that are paid, and then there are some that are free. They have in-person as well as virtual. Every October, they have the autism conference that has different topics. And so this year, I'm not sure if it's going to be virtual or in person, but that's always a good source of information regarding autism.
Awesome, thank you. Yep, Mallory, you can just go ahead.
So for the Area Agency on Aging, all of our services are free. There is no cost. You just have to be, meeting our age and county criteria. For the majority of our services, the best way to get connected is by calling our information and assistance phone line, and I'll add that number in the chat. Staff are fantastic about returning calls within 24 to 48 hours. It's usually within a couple hours of receiving the call if we're not able to take it live. So our services are very accessible to those who are interested in them. We do offer in-person. We're doing a lot now that it's summer and COVID is kind of winding down. Outreach events are starting again. So we're doing a ton of in-person outreach opportunities in the next few months. And Of course, some of our services like Ombudsman will be primarily in person, but otherwise it's just calling that information and assistance phone line if you have a client that's interested, or if you yourself want to know more about some of our programs.
At Thrive Center Show and Tell, all of our workshops, parent and professional trainings, referrals, and youth camps are free. We are accessible to the Denver metro area by calling our phone line as well. We also, as I said, contract and partner with a lot of other organizations such as DRMAC. So you also, word of mouth is a way to access our services. And I too can throw the information in the chat, or DRMAC can do that how they do that. But yes, all of our services are free.
Hello again. So actually there's some legislation, the federal government that oversees, the Federal Transportation Authority oversees how paratransit operates and how things have to be run. And so in terms of the services or resources, anyone can get an application to apply for paratransit services for Access-a-Ride from the RTD's website. The application, there is no application fee. And if a customer needs a ride to our assessment office, we provide that, or I should say RTD provides that for free for all customers who are in the certification process. However, once they are approved for the service, there is a $5 fee each way to use paratransit services on Access-a-Ride. There's also a newer program that they are doing with some on-demand options, and RTD's information about the on-demand program is available to our customers through the customer guide, which is on RTD's website. There's a little bit different fees with the setup there for the on-demand services. But there is no cost to go through the process for the mobility assessment piece. There is also no cost to go through our travel training services. We provide the travel training services free of cost for the customer. The only cost that would be associated for the customer related to travel training would be their actual fare on the fixed route. So whatever their fare would be for them to learn whatever route that they're wanting to learn. However, if a customer is already an Access-a-Ride customer, then they have a ride-free pass on RTD light rail and fixed route buses. So there would not be a cost for that individual. But if somebody that was a customer that wanted to have travel training was not already an Access-a-Ride customer, they would have to pay their fare. But that's the only costs that we have. And in order to get onto the travel training program, they can reach out to us directly at MTM. They can contact RTD also to get set up through travel training. And we do have a little bit of a waiting list. We just started travel training this month. And so we're really excited to get that going, and hopefully we'll be able to get to people pretty quickly on the travel training side. In terms of the assessments, we have appointments available later this week. So typically, once somebody submits their application to RTA, it can take about a week or two for them to get a call from us to get scheduled for their interview and assessments. And then we try to have appointments available within 2 weeks from the time that they call for us to get them scheduled for an appointment. But right now we're sitting at, we actually have appointments available on Thursday of this week. So we're only about 2 days out. So it kind of depends, it ebbs and flows with the number of applications that come in. But I hope that helps to explain a little bit about our accessibility.
Yeah, thank you all for talking a little bit about your services. Again, I'm going to open up the floor. If there are any questions or comments, I don't see any questions in the chat right now, but you can unmute yourself if you do have a question for any of the panel or a comment.
I have a quick question for MTM with RTD. So I hadn't realized that RTD outsourced its Access-a-Ride approval. So one thing, you know, our organization, we provide Access-a-Ride tickets to those who qualify. We can send up to a certain amount a month. Tickets are not guaranteed just because of limited funding and a lot of popularity with the program. But just note that is one of our programs. But what I'm wondering is we have a lot of folks who don't qualify for services and need more of that accessoride route, and a barrier that we've had is it's difficult for them to go and get that in-person assessment to get screened and approved. Is there anything or any talks of something in place to help with that component, to help with the disability screening that would get them approved for an accessoride route?
Can you maybe, I'm not quite sure that I understand the question.
Sorry.
Can you, like, what is the impediment to them coming in for the appointment?
Getting there, physically getting there, because they're not necessarily in a physical place to qualify for our services, which require physical independence with getting in and out of a vehicle. So they need to, what we've heard or what I've personally heard is just there are some folks who need to get accessoride certified, have the appointment set up, but can't get themselves to the building to complete that screening. And so therefore never get certified.
Okay, so I guess, I mean, we provide rides for people that need them to come to the office.
Okay.
So I guess I'm a little bit confused about not being able to get here, because when they call to schedule their appointment, they are offered a ride for free. They're asked if they would like a ride or if they will be providing their own transportation. And I would say that probably 95 to 99% of our customers come on Accessoride. Most of the people that do not come on Accessoride are typically going to be youth that are coming with a parent. Or sometimes we may have an older adult that may come with a child, their own child that's an adult. But we do provide rides free of cost. So I guess I'm not really understanding why they're not able to get here.
I didn't realize that, so that's good to know. So now we can refer back to that and say, well, you should be able to get a ride with them down there. So that's great to know. Thank you.
Yeah, it is free of cost for a ride, and it's not necessarily dependent on the service area. There is a service area that is set up for Accessoride, and that is based on being their pickup location and drop-off location needs to be within 3/4 of a mile of the fixed route, the RTD fixed route. So that does not prevent them from coming in for that initial interview and assessment, even if they are even if they are outside of the service area. So if they live outside of the service area, typically they're advised to, they work with someone at RTD to find a location that's near their home that is within the service area, that perhaps they could get a lift. Someone could drive them to a church or a school or like a public RTD an RTD station somewhere where they could then pick up the Accessoride service. That would be the only thing that I could think of as being a limitation, but that would be after they're already certified on the service. So yes, we do provide rides. They are free of charge. They just need to tell us when we ask them, when we set them up for the interview, that they would like us to pick them up. And they can also bring, if they need a personal care attendant to travel with them, because maybe they're not able to push their own wheelchair, or maybe they have some behavioral needs that they need someone to help direct them, then they can take that person with them free of charge also on that ride, as well as in the future, if they're certified, then they can bring a personal care attendant if they need someone with them because of their disability to get on and off the vehicle.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that helps clarify. Thank you.
I'd add something just as someone from Accessoride. I'll chime in that sometimes we do have clients or customers who are requesting service that we can't provide. Maybe they want somebody who will go into the home and get them out of their bed and into the wheelchair and do more of a wheelchair transport situation. So I think there is sometimes confusion with that as well, that, we don't provide that kind of service. It's door-to-door service. That we can't go in and help you get out, but if you can get to the door, we can get you to the location that you need. So I just thought I'd add that as well.
So I don't know if this question's either for Sarah or for you, Gretchen, but my question was that at one point with the Accessoride, if you are already grandfathered in an area that RTD is no longer reaching for the fixed route, is that something that they're still honoring for those folks that have been grandfathered in for Accessoride? because it is past the 3/4 of a mile to a bus stop?
There are some customers that are grandfathered in, but not necessarily areas. Is the best way for me to explain that. So there are areas that, you know, are just beyond that 3/4 of a mile service area that we do still serve because there are customers living in those areas. Most of the time when new applicants come and they are found to be outside of the service area, we provide them with options as to what locations there are nearby that will get them within the service area. And then once they're certified, there are multiple ways for them. They can use on-demand service to get to a place that Access-a-Ride can pick them up and then take Access-a-Ride if that's what they prefer. If they're going a long distance, or they can, you know, use the on-demand service if that's easier for them.
So if they're grandfathered in and they were to move in another area that was still the same amount of distance away from the new, you know, bus route, they would have to reapply anyways, right? And then in the new address?
It wouldn't be reapplying. It would just be a factor of, you know, they would still have their certification if it were still current. It would just be a matter of knowing where they were in relation to the service area that was new.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
I see Angel Bond has her hand raised. Yeah.
Hi. So I just want to clarify with RTD's Access-a-Ride that the 3/4 of a mile is kind of as the crow flies, not necessarily like the distance to travel to the bus stop or the bus. We ran into this issue up in Netherlands because people thought that since they had to walk like 1.5 miles to get to the bus, that they didn't qualify for the 3/4 of a mile, but their house was actually closer to the bus than what they realized, like as the crow flies. So I just wanted to see if anybody wants to talk about that a little bit more about that buffer area.
Sure. This is Sarah. Yes, it is 3/4 of a mile as the crow flies around the route. That's the federal regulation.
And to just add on that, if anyone has a question, they can always, there is a service lookup available on our website that has the address, or they can contact our office to get a more distinct if they have a question still. You know, if they have something more specific they'd like to address in terms of route, they can always call to clarify with us as well. Thank you.
If you guys would have maybe a link that we can have in the chat and folks can click on that link and check it out, I think that would be helpful as well if you have that.
Cool. All right, well, good discussion there. If there aren't any other questions, I think we'll move on to question 3.
Lauren, I just have a comment.
Yeah.
So just in terms of services, just to add off of that is with just for all of you present who have online applications, is to make sure that they're accessible to everyone. So sure, there may be an electronic format, but is it readable for those who use assistive technology? Because in a lot of cases it's not. And so that can be a barrier for those like who have visual print disabilities, and that can be very frustrating. And so like, for instance, I know JFK Partners, they really make sure that their forms are accessible by running accessibility checkers, which Microsoft has and Adobe has. And then they also too, with their presentations, and Dr. Mack does this too, is making, you know, whether it's verbal or written descriptions with images, just to make sure that the same information is present across the board for everyone, so that everybody can have the same type of information.
Yeah, that's a great point, Robin. Thank you for adding that in. All right, let's move on to question 3. So the next question is, what do you find is the biggest misconception folks have surrounding older adults or people with disabilities, and how do you address that? So Robin, we'll start with you again.
Okay, so I come across this a lot with my therapy clients, and trying to create emotional support around ability, because as you get older, well, so in society, we live in an able-bodied society. And so if people are viewed as quote unquote not being able-bodied, then they tend to be treated differently. And so that can cause people to feel less valued or feeling like they can't contribute to society. And so I provide a space of grace for my clients by understanding their frustrations or understanding, where they're coming from, but then also too, showing them that they do have opportunities, that they are valued, and trying to erase the stigma that exists. And although it may be challenging and sometimes exhausting, as I had somebody say, it can be worth it showing people that just because I'm older or just because I have a disability doesn't mean that I'm any less capable. And just on a more personal note, and I share this with my clients so that I can normalize their feelings, is that being a blind individual, and being a licensed clinical social worker, it took me 6 years to attain my first job. Because I was often told, well, I don't know how you're going to be able to do that. I don't know how accommodations would work. And so it is, it's very frustrating. And so it's important in any agency that you work in as a provider to step back and take a moment and really put yourself in the other person's shoes, what they are feeling in that moment and how to best support them, not have sympathy for them, but rather have empathy. I would say.
Yeah, really good insight, Robin. All right, let's pass it over to Mallory.
Yeah, so I would say that a big misconception is, and kind of similar, but a little bit different. It's minimizing older adults in this population and assuming that it's a one size fits all approach, that all older adults are going to experience the same health issues. They're all going to want to live in the same, communities or have there's not a lot of choice. And so something that I think that our organization does well is preserving choice in aging, choice in where you live, how you get around, and just making sure that there's some empowerment and choice with that, with how we age.
My answer is similar to Robin. When I got these questions, literally what I wrote down was incapability, incapable of XYZ. And so working and serving those with the disabilities, a lot of the misconceptions is that they're incapable of, again, XYZ. So what we do here at Thrive Center Show and Tell is, first off, offer those trainings and workshops for self-advocacy, teaching confidence and self-advocacy. And then we also, outside of that, or after those trainings and workshops, provide community volunteer opportunities. So allowing those who have attended the workshop that are stigmatized, incapable of doing certain things, the opportunity to go into the community and volunteer with us to show that they are capable of doing whatever those limitations were set on them.
This is Sarah again. I agree with everything that everybody has very eloquently said. I would say in terms of our space with mobility management and travel training, I would say that I think that we see oftentimes with sort of our younger people with disabilities, maybe that have more of the intellectual developmental type of disabilities, that sometimes even the person who, because we live in an able-bodied society, the person with disabilities also oftentimes doesn't see their own abilities, they see their own limitations, and that when we talk with them about the kinds of things that they're able to do, sometimes they will either downplay what they're able to do or don't realize that they are able to do certain things. And so I think there's sometimes a learned helplessness for some people, that they are used to people doing things for them. And so they have difficulty sometimes standing up for themselves and taking those things back and doing them for themselves when they are capable of doing those things. I think with older adults, there's definitely, we see frustration for people who have lost certain abilities as they age. And then in some respects, there's some groups of people who may overstate what their abilities are because they're not wanting to, I guess, admit how they have maybe physically deteriorated over time, and their ability to walk has changed. They'll tell us on their application they can walk 6 blocks, and then they come here and they walk like 2/3 of a block, and they're completely winded and they can't do it anymore. But that felt like 6 blocks to them. So we definitely see some of that, people not being really great judges of their physical abilities anymore as they age, and then some people that are younger with more cognitive disabilities, that either themselves or their caretakers kind of minimize what their actual abilities are. And so one of the things that we do to address it at least on the mobility management in terms of the assessment side, is that we don't have a one size fits all. People are not either eligible or not eligible. We have a lot of varying levels of eligibility that do go off of what people's abilities are. And so one of the biggest things that we see for us in particular is that somebody may have been using a walker or a cane when they saw us 4 years ago, and now they have an electric wheelchair, which in their mind, they have declined to the point where they can no longer walk independently. But they now have a mobility device that allows them to go as long as they can possibly go with a battery. So they may have physically deteriorated, but their mobility has actually increased because of the use of this mobility aid. So that's a big, kind of spin on people's head, I guess, shocking to them, because while physically they feel as though they have deteriorated, their actual mobility has probably increased from 4 years ago when they couldn't even walk a block. And now they have a power chair and they can go miles and miles if the weather is right and they have good sidewalks. So that's, I think, some of the misconceptions, and I think we address that by making sure that their certification matches what their abilities are, that they report to us and that we observe here in our office.
Awesome. Thank you all for that insight. Do we have any questions or comments about this question at all? I don't see anybody unmuting themselves or raising their hands. So I think we will move on to the next question. All right, so this question is there any sort of long-term support you offer for the individuals that you partner with? So Robin?
In terms of my private practice therapy, I always tell my clients that I want them to put me out of a job. So I want them to be able to gain the tools that they need to be fully successful and carry out their lives on their own without my support. And so that's the aim, is to build up their toolbox. If I'm not a good fit, then I will recommend them out to a different therapist or any other type of support that they may need that I may not be able to give. In terms of JFK partners, they team up so that they team up with the developmental disabilities unit at Children's Hospital. And so they have social workers on staff where they go through in-depth assessments with parents to be able to understand the children's needs and to see where there's gaps, and to set up a care plan so that they can have those long-term supports that carry them through 18 and beyond. So even when they turn 18, they look at how to transition care, and then what that'll look like, again, so that they won't feel like they're alone once they reach that milestone.
Awesome, thank you, Mallory.
So we do offer kind of a mixed variety of long-term support options. So we have our case management program, which is available to those over the age of 60 who qualify. In that program, similar to what Robin was describing, clients go through a needs assessment. They work one-on-one with a social worker to set up like long-term supports and get those needs accomplished. We also have an options counseling program. This one is a little shorter term, but it has the benefit of being able to serve adults over the age of 18 with a disability. And options counseling is designed to consider those options for long-term care, and staff help that person get those needs met and those tasks accomplished. In general, with our like transportation services, our chores program, there's no time limit on those services. Someone could be enrolled from the age of 60 till as long as we're able to continue funding this program. So there's no limit to either chores or the transportation program. Two, with case management, if the case were to end, what's great is the client now knows that we're a good resource. So we often have people who will call back maybe after a couple of years, something new has come up, but they know they can come to us for supports. So yeah, so those are some of the ways that we can offer some long-term support for individuals.
At Thrive Center Show and Tell, we're always here. We don't offer a specific long-term support. As a community parent resource center, our goal is to provide parents and families and providers with the training and the resources that they need to kind of cross those bridges, so providing them stepping stones to get to the other side. But there's always an opportunity to come back and receive more information and receive more supports and more resources from us.
So in terms of the things that we do for RTD from MTM's perspective, people typically are certified for a period of 4 years is the normal, unless, like I said, there's some temporary people. And so, however, if there is any change to their disability or their mobility device while they are throughout that certification cycle, they can come back to be recertified if their needs change. And then they would come back to us like on a 4-year cycle to get recertified. And as long as they qualify for services, then obviously they can use the Access-a-Ride services. In terms of the travel training side of things, we will train someone to learn a trip, and then if they have another trip that they would like to learn in the future, we can do another round of travel training with that individual. So we don't cut that off. We don't have any like limit to the number of places that people can be trained to, but each travel training session, or I should say, each time they go through travel training, they would learn one particular route, and then they could get back on the waiting list and go back again. And so just kind of depending on how many customers that we have waiting for individual travel training will determine, how long they have to wait in between those trainings to learn those different routes. But we don't have a limit to the number of times that they can come in to see us for travel training.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I want to open up the floor once again for questions or comments.
Well, this comment is, this is Jamie Lewis. This comment is for Sarah. I know there's some internal discussions at RTD to make the qualifications permanent for Access-a-Ride for a person like myself. I had polio in 1961. I use a wheelchair, and it's just kind of annoying to have to go back every 4 years because I'm not going to get any better. So just want to make that comment that has been looking, they are looking at that.
Yes, yeah, they are. It's just not been finalized yet. So, once that is finalized, then obviously that will change how some certifications are granted.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jamie. Any other questions before we move on to the next question? All right, I think we can move on to question number 5. So this question is, where do you see the biggest gaps in the community in respect to your area, organization, or community? And what can the community do to help? Robin?
The biggest gap or barrier really is, from my perspective, is the understanding piece of it. Somebody on the panel said that, one size does not fit all. And so I think a lot of organizations tend to lose sight of that. And so that's why a lot of people fall through the cracks. And so just trying to really individualize each interaction that you have and making sure that you tailor the interaction to that person. I know it can be time consuming, but it also is more meaningful that way, and it makes the impact of the services stick longer for that particular person. And I think overall, if that happens, then there can be more accessibility just within the community as a whole, because people will have a greater understanding of what a person's going through, what a person's limitations are and what a person's limitations are not, and being able to see how fully functional they are as a person, and that will create more opportunity.
So focusing specifically on transportation, I would say the biggest gap that we see would be a need for more options for on-demand rides. We get a lot of requests for, I had a provider, they were able to get me in today. And at this time, there is not a lot of options for those individuals who need to get to those places. So, we do offer an Uber program, but you have to have a smartphone, you have to have an email, you have to know how to use Uber. That can be a big barrier. So just would like to see, as a region, more options for on-demand rides so that those folks can get to their medical appointments or wherever else it may be.
Where we see those gaps in our organization is more for the BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and making sure that they are finding space and seats at the table, and making sure that we're intentional with tailoring our workshops and trainings and outreach to that community specifically. So we're collaborating and outreaching to organizations that serve predominantly BIPOC communities, and making sure that we're partnering with them to provide the education and resources needed for that community. There is a saying that we use, and a lot of people use it, nothing for us without us. So when we're thinking about adding youth to the table, or the BIPOC community to the table, or the LGBTQIA to the table, making sure that those types of people are seated at the table as we're planning how to outreach and tailor our programs and workshops, and again, resources to meet their needs.
I would say that we're still learning, so we're sort of new to the Denver community. We opened up our doors in September of 2021, so we have not been here quite a year. So we are still learning, where things are. But I would say that the biggest complaints and things that we see really are people not knowing about the fact that we have these options for people with disabilities in terms of transportation, not understanding some of the limitations. We definitely have some customers that come in and they have been approved for Social Security disability, and they believe that this is another, I guess, feature or program for someone who is considered to be disabled, and I'm going to put that in quotes, by the Social Security Administration. That does not necessarily mean that they will be qualified for transportation through Access-a-Ride. So that's one misconception that I see in the area that I think is kind of a gap for people, but just kind of like a lack of knowledge of the fact that this is a service available for people. And so I think, things like this are ways that we can help people with disabilities and older adults to connect to things that are meaningful for them. I mean, MTM wants to remove barriers to community access by getting people on transportation. So whether it's teaching people through travel training how to use transportation, or getting people that, maybe they used to drive and now they can't drive anymore, but they also have never used buses before. So helping them to understand that that's an ability for them, or that they used to take the bus all the time, but now they can't walk a block anymore, and the bus stop is 2 blocks away, and they just can't get there. So how do they get places? The fact that Access-a-Ride is there. So these are some of the things that I think are just a lack of knowledge of people in the community as to what the resources are. And I think a lot of times those people that are the social workers and the social service connectors sometimes have misconceptions about things, like what's available, what they're what we provide. I think, Mallory, you had a great point earlier that not realizing that they can get a free ride to come in for that assessment from us. I think there is just some like misinformation out there. And actually, I wanted to tag onto that. I don't know if Gretchen was planning to put this, but in addition to the Access-a-Ride, the Uber program, there is also a taxi option for the Access on Demand, the Access-a-Cab, that has been around for years and years and years. So for people who do not have a smartphone or don't have that ability, you book the Access-a-Cab in the same way that you book a regular RTD Access-a-Ride, but you do not have to book it a day ahead of time. They can call to the contact center and book that Access-a-Cab on the same day. So that is another option for maybe people that aren't as tech savvy to be able to utilize, and it does work similar to the to the Uber program, where there is a subsidy. So the customer pays a small amount, and then RTD subsidizes a larger amount. And then if it goes over the total amount, then the customer pays the difference. So that is another option that's out there for people that maybe aren't as tech savvy. But yes, I would agree that there's definitely still some gaps there in transportation. So I think it's just, for me, it's a matter of knowledge and proper and correct information being out there, because I think sometimes people get so excited about something and then the messaging just gets a little skewed. It's kind of like that game of telephone that you put out a message and then it gets repeated, and then an error gets put out there and it's more repeated. So I think these kinds of things are great because it's coming directly from the source, so they can dispel those rumors and help get that correct information out to the people helping to service people in the Denver community.
All right, thank you all for those answers. Do we have any questions or comments about this question number 5? Yeah, Angel, I see your hands up.
I just wanted to repeat my comment that was in the chat, that Access-a-Cab, that it actually doesn't operate throughout the district. I think maybe like there's a contract that says that it does operate throughout the district, but I think Metro is the like the provider of that service, and they don't pick up trips within Boulder County. They might drop off trips in Boulder County, but they don't pick them up. So just in general, like when we're talking about alternatives to the Uber, I'm just wondering, the Uber on demand, I'm wondering if there's a idea to explore how to actually get the Access-a-Cab available everywhere within the district.
I'll address that. That's correct. Unfortunately, Metro does not service the Boulder area. And unfortunately, they are only cab provider that is under contract right now. This summer, we will be releasing an RFQ for more on-demand service and are hoping to get more cab providers, more on-demand private providers on board. So that will be coming, and hopefully we will have a wider array of service options for on-demand service in place in the coming year. So please know that that is in the works. We are trying to address it and get more options available for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Gretchen.
Thank you.
All right, if we don't have any other questions, I think we can move on to our 6th and final question. So for those of the panel who are familiar with our programs, this question is there anything that Dr. Mack can improve on to make our resources more accessible for older adults and/or people with disabilities? So Robin, if you have anything to add for this question, you can go ahead and go first.
At this point, I can't think of anything, honestly, being a volunteer with Dr. Mack, I see great strides that are being taken to make sure that the resources are accessible and to make sure that gaps are being filled in noticeable areas where some information may be missing. I do really like how Dr. Mack, again, like I mentioned earlier, they try to make sure that their materials are very accessible, which again is important to make sure that the same information is coming across to older individuals as well as those with disabilities. So I don't have anything else to say.
Well, we love working with you, and we're so lucky to have you to help us. I know I've been in some of the trainings that you've, the mock trainings you've done with us, and that's just so helpful to hear from your perspective. So, all right, Mallory.
I don't have anything to add. I think, the services that are being provided are necessary and helpful to clients. It's a team effort to, provide transportation to such a large Metro Denver region. So thank you for all that you guys do.
Thank you.
Can't think of anything, which is a good thing. I know that there's always room for improvement. Nothing is perfect. But with that being said, I can't think of anything, and I'm just, grateful for your services, and thank you for all that y'all do.
Thank you. All right, and Sarah? Anything
I would say I haven't been here for very long, just a few months, and so I don't have any suggestions or solutions right now, but I'm definitely looking forward to increasing our partnership with Dr. Mack, and would be happy to provide any thoughts or feedback once we get a little bit more into, I think, working together. But so far everything seems really awesome and wonderful resource. I come from the Chicago area where I did this work for 5 years, and I would say that the community of people with disabilities here is much more organized and better advocates for themselves and for other people that have disabilities than I see in an area like Chicago, which is like 10 times the size of Denver. And so I would just say that I think organizations like this are amazing and just doing a fantastic job of trying to connect the community a little bit more. And so I'm just in awe of everything that I'm seeing here in the few months that I've been here, but I'm looking forward to continuing that partnership and keeping things going in any way that we can help from the MTM perspective. We're really honored to be here and love working with RTD and all of our customers that we've met with so far.
Awesome. Thank you all. Dr. Mack, always is looking for, your guys's feedback. So we are always trying to improve. So now I just want to open it up to everybody else that's in this meeting. If you have any suggestions, what we can do to make our resources or programs more accessible, we would love to hear from you.
This is Jamie. It looks like RTD is going to have a free fare August. The legislature approved the dollars for that. They haven't made a specific announcement, but I think that'd be a great opportunity for a lot of organizations to ring the bell, to talk about free transportation, to get out to the neighborhoods and to let people know that that month is free, and to demonstrate your wares, whether it's Dr. Mack, maybe giving out some swag and talking to people. And we just want to make sure that's a successful month so that maybe the legislature will get the hint that subsidizing RTD a little more will actually improve service.
I love that idea, Jamie. You will internally as a team think about ways to promote that, maybe outreach to some other groups. Thank you.
All right, any other feedback? Oh, I see in the chat that Joy is asking what the dates are for that. Jamie, did you say it was in August?
Tentatively right now, it's going to be August. That's the word. The department that works on advertising hasn't quite got everything together, but it looks like it's going to be August. So, maybe if we can get this on the agenda for July, we can encourage groups that attend this meeting to do something for that month.
Yeah, thank you for that suggestion. All right, well, I guess if we don't have any other questions or comments, I just want to thank our amazing panel again for all of your insight. And that was a lot of really great information. I love hearing about all of the work that you are doing. If you four are willing to just put your contact information in the chat, just so if anybody else has any questions that they come up with, or they just want to be in contact with you, that would be great. If we don't have any other questions, I think that I'm going to pass the baton over to Colleen just to wrap up our meeting.
Lauren, I had two things before we go. I noticed that the next meeting's on July 5th, which is the Tuesday after July 4th. Have you guys considered moving that date?
Yep, Colleen is just, it's on the slide there. Colleen mentioned that we're going to move it to the second Tuesday of July.
Great. The second thing is I put in the chat, CCDC just received some funds from CALC, the Colorado Active Living Coalition. And we're going to have a little program this year where we're getting people out. It's called Urban Discoveries. And what we want to do is, we all know that during the pandemic, mental health has been a big deal. And so what we want to do is get people out, show them how to use transit or Access-a-Ride, and take them to parks and wilderness areas in the Front Range area. So if you know anybody that's, you've been wanting to focus on and get them out and active, my contact information is in the chat. Thank you.
Jamie, are you okay with us sharing that info as well, like in our newsletter? And
oh, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks to all of you for your participation today. Sorry, especially our panel. That's all we have for you. So we're going to wrap up our meeting. The next Dr. Mac event will be our educational offering on the second Tuesday of next month, July 12th. And to RSVP, please contact Stephanie O'Neill at soneal@drmac-co.org. And I believe her info is in the chat. Once again, thank you, and we'll see you all next month.